Welcome to yet another one of our Nomies broadcasts on Google+. You can join us if you head over to nomies.com and sign up for a subscription, hopefully an annual subscription. Today's topic will be small business. And Nomies is generally a group, a mastermind group of sorts, wherein we are sharing information that we may not be sharing anywhere else. And I put together Nomies really as a way to better address another part of my audience, and that would be fellow business owners, a lot of small businesses certainly. So thank you everybody for watching this particular broadcast, and I see we are joined immediately by William Reynolds Young. You are the first Nomie to join. Welcome aboard.
Hello.
And even if you don't have questions, the way this played out yesterday, or sorry, not yesterday, I get that just right. The way it played out last week, I ended up just talking for about an hour's time about internet entrepreneurship and topics thereabout. But this week, I wanted to talk specifically about social media and small business. It's my hope to be able to invite more small business owners into Nomies, because it's the advice that Nomies can give them that could get them further ahead. It's less about talking to other geeks and really about elevating intelligence within our community to help small businesses do business. And social media is certainly a part of that. So I'm going to wait to see if a few more people will join. And I know that I shared the link. All Nomies in the Nomies circle should be able to see this particular post. I'll be sure to post it to our Nomies Facebook group. And that's really what separates Nomies from a lot of other mastermind groups, really, is the fact that it's not just on one site or another. We've got a discussion list. We've got the Facebook group, the LinkedIn group. We've given people, I guess, more ability to drive revenue, online or offline, depending on what they happen to be doing for their career. And so I know I get a lot of questions in relation to social media, and I thought we'd better address it. And behind me I've got here, just in case people couldn't join the Hangout, if they're in the private Nomies IRC chat room. I don't know how well Google is going to handle the encoding of this particular video, but the idea is that we can keep the chat room that we just used in the YouTube live broadcast here behind us. So I think I'm going to go ahead, now that we've got a handful of Nomies joining us, and go live with the broadcast. I was lucky enough to be flagged on Google to be able to broadcast Hangouts live. We'll keep it to right around an hour long, because I am actually getting offline tonight for a hot date. We do date night.
Ooh.
It's my way. You know, I realize with this webcam, I look way more white than I am in real life.
Oh.
Could be your lighting.
It's
Could
not
be a lighting issue.
I mean, I don't get a lot of sun. Don't get me wrong. But this is definitely this is the light that's really casting. Ooh, skin tone. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to post this broadcast publicly, so anybody's going to be able to watch. If you guys want to watch the comment threads, all the Nomies who are either in the chat room here or watching the broadcast or are part of the Hangout, if you want to watch for any kind of questions that might come in, that would be rather nice. So I believe this is being recorded for YouTube, but I'm going to go ahead and post the broadcast video publicly in 5, 4, 3.
And as you're sending that video out to the public, I'm going to get it recorded.
Oh, thank you, Kevin. We've got a nice backup. We've learned over time that it's good to have redundancy when you intend on sharing information. You can't just expect that doing it in one place is going to get the job done. I've done several broadcasts in the past, and unfortunately through one misconfiguration or another, usually on the other end, something didn't get recorded for posterity. So if you have joined the Hangout, my fellow Nomies, those who have registered on nomies.com, if you're using your keyboard, just go ahead and slide your microphone down a little lower, otherwise your keyboard will kind of overpower everybody who might be asking questions or talking about the topic at hand. And today, it is social media and small business. It's been my hope to help so many small businesses, as I've been doing over the years. I've had so many success stories, people coming to me after they've sold their companies to other companies saying, thank you for writing that book, thank you for making that blog post, thank you for saying what you said. I've helped so many businesses, and that's really my drive behind Nomies. It's less about engaging the people who already know the things that I know or might already have formed their own opinions, and really about helping people along their way and using technology as a path to success. And this is what I've done. I mean, someone on Google Plus actually commented on the video that we just streamed live on YouTube saying, what's your job? Is this your job? If not, what is it? Please respond. And yeah, I guess this is my job, to be able to sit here and talk to people and share my advice, whether it's in a Google Plus Hangout with you guys, or whether it's in a YouTube broadcast, whether it's in our private groups for Nomies, or even speaking at various events. People have asked for my advice, and sometimes all you need is just a little bit of advice to really get you over that hump. That was kind of my drive behind doing the webinar, looking at people's websites this week. And I would say, I don't know if anybody had seen the webinar or if you were there, I would say that was a rather successful webinar.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, it was.
It was good? Even if
Very good.
I haven't gotten a chance to take a look at it.
It's okay. Even if I didn't feature someone's website in the webinar, kind of giving feedback, saying suggestions, you could look at another person's website and get ideas for your own website. And I would say that if you don't have a website, you're nowhere. Even if you have like a local business. And we went through at least, I remember one local business. It was like some kind of, oh gosh, what was it? It wasn't a computer repair shop, although there were local computer repair technicians who are Nomies. It was another type of small business, electric repair. So it's kind of geeky.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, and we talked about local businesses and really what they can do to better leverage the experience when someone actually visits their website. So let me go ahead and make sure. Okay, so I shared that on Nomies. And since we're broadcasting, I want to make sure people who are following me on Google Plus can see it, and who are following on Twitter can see it, and then certainly who are following us on Facebook can see it.
Yeah, actually, Chris, as you were doing the whole webinar going through sites, I was going, wait a second, my site does that, and I was editing my site live as you were giving comments to others. I'm like, wait a second, I'm doing that, and I was just doing a ping pong.
Brian, I tell you, that is the #1 thing I want to do more of. I think we're going to be able to attract so many more small business owners, or even people who want to do business online. A large part of my audience has been, geeks and nerds just like us. Or maybe if you're not a geek or nerd watching this video or in the Hangout, don't feel strange. It takes all types to make the world go round. I believe our advice is more valuable to people who don't have that knowledge, and there's only so much each one of us knows. And we may know a lot about one topic, but not a lot about another. But that's good, and especially in business, it's that intelligence that will often keep you from being able to grow. And trying to do everything on your own is really an exercise in futility. I mean, you would spend far more time trying to fix something when someone else could help you along that path, whether it's a consultant, whether it's an assistant, a partner, someone who's got information that you don't have. That's the value of joining mastermind groups. And so thank you, everybody, for joining this particular Google Plus Hangout or broadcast out to everybody watching, and it will be recorded for posterity on YouTube as well. So earlier this week, I had said that I needed to leave early to head across town to co-teach a class on creating business plans, and there were students who were assembling business plans with other people, never having really done a business plan before, learning the construct of a business plan and what you can and cannot do, or what you should and should not do. And there were a lot of good ideas, honestly, that I saw. And in every one of these presentations, and I am not a fan of PowerPoint at all, but in every one of these presentations, they, in the marketing plan, stated, well, we're going to be on Twitter, we're going to be on Facebook, and that's all it was. In doing that, they had identified that, they knew that Twitter and Facebook were important, this world of social media, but they had no strategy. I mean, even if you have a business and you're on Twitter, you've gone 1% of the way. 99% is engagement. And this discussion came up in the Nomi's LinkedIn group this week, talking about how do you really effectively track I guess, who's, your accelerants, who are your most conversational community members. And, my response was, I get to know people for their names. It's my goal to attract 10,000 small business owners into Nomi's. And I would like to believe that I can get to the point where I will know people by name and be able to associate them with their business, whether your business is dry cleaning, whether they're a restaurant owner, whether they, shine shoes, whether they are sommelier, whether they, whatever they happen to do. There's so many businesses in the world, and I believe that social media can help every single one of them, so long as you understand social media's role. Just getting onto Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or Google+, it's a small fraction compared to the strategy. And so many companies would be inclined to use, social media as a way of advertising, and that's fine. And I do as well. I promote the content that we create in my small business. That's the way that I happen to use it. But just being on Twitter and having a presence there is part of the story. Engaging your community or discovering your community, who's talking about you, who's not talking about you, I would say is just as important as getting the word out about what you happen to be doing on your Facebook page, on your Twitter page, Google+, or wherever it happens to be. And that's what I wasn't hearing. I wasn't hearing a lot in their marketing strategy about how they were going to approach social media. So it was, to me, there was a disconnect between the tools and how to effectively use the tools. You don't use Twitter to get information out and not respond, or not giving your followers something that they would value. So when we use Twitter, whether it's through my account or the official business's account, it's usually to give value to the person who might be following us. Now, granted, I'm very lucky to have more than 12 people following me, but for the most part, they're interested in what I have to share. And that's usually information, whether it's tech information or now starting to really open up, and instead of just working with companies on a one-on-one basis, sharing this kind of general information with people. So that's something that, and you guys feel free to jump in. How do you effectively explain that getting on social media is barely the beginning? It's barely scratching the surface. Unless you don't want to jump in, and I can continue.
So what's your question again?
How do you get them over the hump? They get on. Where do they go from there? Where's the real step one?
Well, the real step one, I think, with social media is 3 steps: connect, engage, and build a relationship.
How can they find the way to build that relationship? Where do they begin? I mean, connecting, yes, but
once they start connecting, then they go and find people who have similar interests or who are in the same industry, the same niche that they're in, or industry experts. And they just start commenting and liking their information and just engaging them. And then once they start engaging, they can build a relationship, because when people start engaging with me, I notice them, and that makes me want to circle them.
Yes, exactly. That was my exact response. You get to know people for who they are.
And also, on Cam's Hangout the other day, we went over this. Allow it to happen organically. Create your first connection, a true, honest connection, person to person. That becomes 5 connections. That becomes 10 connections, and allow it to grow organically. And more people will pay attention to that because of the fact that it's happening real. Yeah.
Well, organic growth, I think, is the foundation for my business, or any part of my businesses that I've done over the years. I would say one business, but several business ideas that I've been able to evolve. It's been organic because putting something out there that's contrived isn't going to stick, or it's not going to stick for very long. And those connections that you're making would be loose at best. Making that connection and leveraging my own personality to further engage, it scales to my business model. But what I would ask you, Kim, or anybody else really in this ad hoc panel of Nomis, how can a small business owner who barely has enough time to get their business done accommodate social media? They know it's important. They know they need to be paying attention to it. But what are your suggestions for getting them over that time commitment so that they can better achieve their goals?
They can do one of two things. They can either hire out, outsource it, which is one of the easiest things to do sometimes if you get the right person, or they can just start with a small amount of time every day and then grow from there. So they can say 15 minutes in twice a day, and then just grow from there.
Yeah, that's I would say it's close to what I recommend. And that's along the lines of finding the people who love you the most, finding your biggest supporters. And if you don't have the ability to do it yourself, sometimes having them help you do it because they already understand the service, the product, the brand, the name, sometimes they're going to be more than willing to kind of throw in, and they may get something from it too. Sometimes that's, you know, a free sandwich every day, sometimes, or every week. You know, sometimes it's free, you know, service or even a discounted service that they're going to use anyway. Then they become even stronger evangelists for what it is that whatever product or service the small business might happen to be. Finding those evangelists, I think, is absolutely crucial to really understanding what social media is.
I would also tend to add in just a little bit that there has to be a value beyond just engagement. The reason why is because a lot of people they will become fans of a business based on what the service that a business provides. But if you're providing an additional value in conjunction with, I would say, motivation to engage for social media, you have a tendency to build that organic connection much faster, as well as leveraging the fact that you're engaging within your business. And a business should be focusing more at times on marketing than on the actual business, because if people don't know you're there, then the doors don't stay open.
Yeah, usually it's a bigger problem when they don't know you're there.
Then I guess kind of as a follow-up would be like, once you got your audience, how do you keep it? That's part of the engagement process, isn't it? Maintaining
content.
Yeah, well, it's not just content, but you could go the affinity route. So certainly, if you're talking about a localized business or something that's hyper-local, neighborhood restaurant or some kind of service shop, you know, getting onto Foursquare and engaging on Foursquare, if only to publish specials. There are people like myself who might be in a neighborhood that I don't frequent, and I may scroll through to say, hey, what are the specials going on right now on my smartphone? And, you know, what's going to pop out? Oh, if I go here and simply check in, I might get X% off my bill. That takes virtually no time to set up. And in terms of the value, you would rather attract a customer at 10% off than never having that customer at all. You know, the lost opportunity cost is a big factor in business, and really that potential customer that you could convert not just that first time, but if you give them a good experience, which you should be doing anyway with a business,
Sure.
they may come back again and again and again, and then of course that you parlay that with word-of-mouth marketing, and word of mouth is a great thing to have. You can never count on it, but it goes back to what is good marketing. Well, good marketing is having a good product or service. You could pay a company $1 million to give you good marketing strategies, but ultimately, if you don't have a good message or product or service, it's not going to stick. Yeah, you know, it was just you know, interesting to me to see that even would-be business owners or creators know that social media is important, but beyond that, the strategy is just it's piecemeal. And I know there are companies out there that can help. I mean, as Kim pointed out, there are companies out there that can definitely help guide you along. In fact, I think, Kim, that's part of what your business does, correct?
Yes, that is. We take the pain out of social media for business owners.
But it's so important because time is important. I'm reminded of the Fifth Element quote. What is it? life not, no, time not important, only life important. Well,
Love it.
social media is life, you know, and I think we all understand this, but it's not just, you know, posting random pictures of a cat or a dog to a Twitter account. It's connecting, and I think, you know, directly engaging. You know, I've, you know, begun to use social media as, you know, not just a tool for searching what people might be saying about the things that I do, but really just seeing what people are saying, catching on to trends that otherwise I would have completely missed. You know, tuning into the news or reading a newspaper or radio that, you know, unfortunately a lot of unplugged small business owners still do. They still rely on traditional media to get the word out. But if you set the stage properly, if you've got a brand and story that people can believe in and latch onto, and you give them the freedom to do something with that, they are more than happy to kind of help get the word out about what it is that you're doing, if it's legitimate, if it's something of value to them, and if they certainly want to see your business survive, if you're doing something that really benefits them beyond what someone else may do. I mean, imagine if there are, just for example, 2 bakeries, okay? One bakery over here isn't in social media. They don't have a Twitter account, they don't have a Facebook account, they don't have Google+, no YouTube or anything. This bakery over here is watching Twitter for people talking about, I could really go for a delicious cupcake. Now let's say they see this and they know that they're in, say, where I happen to be, the Seattle area. This person may say, you know, we just baked a fresh batch today. Here, did you see the special? You buy one, get, you know, one free. Oh, wow, okay, well, I think I'll do that. They will convert it a customer, and who knows how long that customer is going to stick around because they were paying attention to the conversation. It's about attracting customers. It's about extending your reach and really giving people a chance to, you know, connect with you at a level that they couldn't connect with you before.
Yeah, Chris, and unfortunately I see it all too often. I'll go to a business's website, big, small, doesn't matter, and you'll see, you know, follow us on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. When I go over to that profile, I see it to where there's maybe 3 listings, and none of them are within a month and a half of when I'm actually viewing it. It's like, great idea, but they have very poor follow-through.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you bringing that up because it goes back to my point. You can get there, but that's 1% of the problem. It's like having a website. And that's 1%. Okay, then what are you going to do for the rest of it? Now, granted, if you're using that website and you've got the proper sales funnel, you know what you want to get from the website, and your customers are satisfied with what they're getting, great, you've met your goals. You've met your objectives. But just having a Twitter account doesn't mean anything if you're not using it. It is a tool to be used. It's not like a hammer and a nail where you just pound it in and you're done. I mean, you're going to be pounding that thing forever, theoretically, or as long as a lion's share of your community is there. It's less about you as a business or a business owner and more about your customers or your potential customers. So much is thrown away, wasted opportunities, really, when businesses don't recognize and surface their biggest supporters. And some businesses do it better than others. They may have the skills aboard their team. They may have the extra time. But not trying and pretending it doesn't exist or saying that's a waste of time doesn't make it so. It is what it is. The tool is going to be only as good as you make it. Years ago, I worked for a company that shall remain nameless at this point in time. And I had suggested to them that they create e-books around their information that they were providing anyway on the web for free. And I said, why don't you compile the information into the same type of information into an e-book and sell it for $5? Nothing. I mean, that's really, it was nothing compared to the value of the information. And I said, put it online, sell it, and if you did what I did, you'd be able to afford hiring a person to do that for you full time. And I mean, it's the way my mind works. I'm very bootstrap minded. So, you know, I talked about it, and ultimately, the business development vice president told me, yeah, we linked to some Amazon.com ebooks, and we just didn't see the conversions. But I wasn't saying link to an Amazon.com website. I was saying take the information that you're doing here, repackage it, bundle it, and make it convenient for your community. And they didn't want to do it. They weren't paying attention to what could potentially drive more revenue. And that's what every business needs, whether it's tied into one revenue channel or another. To survive, every single business needs a model. Granted, there are Twitters of the world which haven't really been profitable that I know of, or they're still trying to figure out the business model now that they have the attention, but there are far fewer of those than there are businesses that need money to survive, if only to pay the bills. And even nonprofits make money. They're called nonprofits, not non-profitables. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one. Can you say that again? I want to make sure that one was heard.
Absolutely. They're called nonprofits, not non-profitables. There's a lot of money to be made in nonprofits. There's a disconnect between a nonprofit organization and them not making money. They're mutually exclusive. If the nonprofit was not making money, it would not be in business. And a nonprofit is a business. And yes, you can make a business out of a nonprofit. That's why there's so many of them. It's not because they're running around not making money. I mean, this isn't the Mad Magazine board game. The object of the game is not to lose your money. That's what business is. Gain customers. You know, PJ Hanna notes, and PJ Hanna had offered. I don't know. He may be able to join the Hangout too. By the way, if people want to cycle through, he offered a special to Nomies. I think God, what was it like? The special for web hosting that PJ offered was.
It was like $60.
Yeah, it was like, but even if you paid for an annual Nomi subscription and you used his web hosting, you would still be saving money. I mean, I love surfacing those kinds of discounts. But businesses that don't use Twitter, and I'm not saying Twitter's the end-all be-all, because there's a lot of places you have to pay attention to. I admit it. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Knowing which one is driving more to your objectives is the one that you're going to pay a lion's share of attention to. But, you know, a dead Twitter account is almost more frustrating than no Twitter account at all. I'm probably going to be switching DNS providers, and DNS, for those of you who aren't geeks, is essentially a service that tells your web browser where my websites happen to be on the internet. And my current provider for this service has been flaky, and I'm not very happy with it. And I even reached out to them on Twitter, and their last tweet was a few months ago. They're not paying attention. And not to say that I shouldn't go through official customer service channels, because I certainly could. It's just that Twitter's a lot more convenient for me. Facebook's a lot more convenient for me. LinkedIn's a lot more convenient for me. Google Plus is a lot more convenient for me than to go through. How many of you guys have gone through the customer experience nightmare? Because every company's got a different process and procedure, and it's draining. I'm a customer. I'm a paying member. I don't care how they help me. I just want help. I just want to know what's going on. And
Certainly
Why?
been there.
Okay.
Why do you want to know what's going on?
Because I'm paying.
Yep.
I'm saying, here's my money. You say this is what you're going to do, and if you don't live up to that agreement, and there's a concern, I'm going to bring it up to you. And I'm not going to necessarily think, oh, I have to step through 47 different processes in order to get to the right person that I need. It's easier for me. It's so much more convenient for me to go tweet and be done, and then hopefully make a connection. And I can tell you, the companies that are clued in use Twitter more for a customer engagement or a customer service, or what would be a CRM, maybe going a bit too far, but engaging customers and using it as a support channel more than marketing. And that's, I think, the biggest disconnect when putting social media into a marketing plan, is recognizing that, yes, you can use social media for marketing, but its strength is really in the engagement or customer service arena. And if you're not paying attention to your customers, good luck, because that's who pays the bills. Your customers
Chris.
pay the bills.
Going through a CM customer service thing, you know, I very much dislike it when you say, you know, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. What's the first thing out of their mouths? Well, go to our fax page. You know, they list the top 10 things on our fax. I'm like, I just told you I already checked that. Versus going onto a Twitter or something and you get a 5-word response that perfectly answers your thing in, you know, one day. It's so much better. I also like the business model of when they use things like Foursquare or services like that, to where you go in and they say, oh, wait, you've been here 5 times. We'll offer you a discount just because we recognize that fact. Versus being like, you know, here's a week, you'll buy one, give one free. If you engage the person and say, we value your business, and just because of that, here's a deal that no one else is getting.
Yeah, but very few businesses have figured that out. And I think it may be generational, maybe it's not generational. As a business owner, I'm very lucky to be connected to the internet and to understand its power. And if it weren't for the internet, I don't know if I would have a business. But there are more businesses who don't understand what the internet can provide than there are businesses who do understand, which is a strength, say, for if you happen to have that expertise, because that's valuable. I mean, it's not a commodity in the marketplace if you have knowledge that somebody else doesn't that can help them get from, you know, point A to point B. What I think the hurdle with social media is it's too confusing, it's too difficult, and to me, you almost have to make it difficult. Not to say that it's intuitive, but once you figure out that Soylent Green is people, it's not too much of a challenge from there. You figure out how to make the tool work for you, but ignoring it altogether because you can't figure it out, you are potentially ignoring those customers, those clients. You know, you're potentially missing out on that next business lead. When I presented to a group of people with Mari Smith, this is a few months ago at a local pub, we were talking about Facebook. She's pretty big into Facebook, and it was a LinkedIn type of meetup, and people that were in the group were asking about, you know, LinkedIn and should they be using it. Well, that's not even a question, should you be using it. Half of them were looking for a job. Like, if you're not on LinkedIn and you're looking for a job or you're looking to make business connections, where are you? I mean,
Lost.
Well, I would say, yeah, on MySpace. I mean, MySpace is not going to be the place that you're going to find qualified business connections.
Oh, gosh.
Of course.
Oh, gosh.
If you're a band, maybe, possibly.
Yeah,
Isn't that more of businesses or whoever they're trying to make it more complicated than it is. They're thinking there's too much to it, and it's a very closed-minded operation, to whereas, like, people that know it, it's a very fluid motion. It's very native to thinking.
Human beings, and we all have this, we have a fear of the unknown. We all do. Years ago, before the iPad launched, alleged industry experts, and I'm not talking about anybody here, we're saying that the iPad was going to be a colossal failure. Oh, it doesn't have a camera, and there's no need for it. We have laptops and netbooks, and the iPad will be a failure. Well, it turns out they were idiots. Luckily, I knew better than to judge a product before it had shipped, and talked specifically about perception being, I would say, a hindrance to our own acceptance of one thing or another. If we have no ability to compare one thing to something else, we can't accommodate it. When the iPad was launched, when they announced it, what is it? Well, it's not a phone. It's too big. Well, it's not a laptop because it has no keyboard. What is it? Well, it's a netbook. No, it's not a netbook because it's not this. It's not that. It's nothing. We don't know what it is. Therefore, it's going to fail. We didn't know what it was. Did it fail? No, it didn't.
Nope.
So,
Not at all.
And I think we all, even if we don't like iPads, I think we can all come to an agreement that it didn't fail. But it's perception that ultimately held people back. They could not compare it to something else, and so they had no comparison model against it. And social media may fall in that construct where traditional marketing, if you put social media in the marketing bucket specifically, traditional marketing would be control the message, control the message, control the message. PR, marketing, it's spin, spin, spin. Doesn't matter what someone says, we say this. This is our message, we stay on message. Social media takes that model and flips it upside down. So you have to accept that people are going to say whatever they want to say about you, even if you don't give them a way to say it. Well, what if they say something bad? Well, then wouldn't you rather be a part of that conversation than not?
True.
You know, I think business owners are afraid of bad things being said, but again, they're going to be said anyway. So wouldn't you rather find out why they're being said? You know, it's pretty, I would say, and granted, this is probably because of my experience, it's easy to see when someone is being disingenuous online versus they've got a beef. They've really got a problem. And it was probably the same thing in real life. You've probably seen someone in the real world, I mean, as opposed to this is very real, who's been outlandish, who's been, you know, beyond reasonable in their expectations and calling attention to themselves and their problem. Sometimes people have bad days. To be able to you know, take that and parlay a potentially bad experience into something good does more for the brand, whether you're an ambassador for the brand or whether you're the brand owner, than ignoring it altogether. And I think Yelp is a prime example. You know, frequently, if I'm not familiar with a restaurant that I'm going to or a service outlet that I'm going to, I'll do a search. I'll go online. I'll check it out. What are people saying? You know, my friends might be saying something about it. I may even crowdsource it. Today I even crowdsourced the type of bed that we're looking to get. I don't know if I want to get one of those Sleep Numbers or a Tempur-Pedic. I'm like, what do you guys think? And people responded. They told me, they're like, we love it. This. Oh, don't get it because we don't love it because this is better. I let my community, my friends, tell me their experiences. You know, instead of going to a raw search, which would yield no personalized results right now, I asked people around me. That, you know, it's part of the word-of-mouth experiences. And they could warn me. They could tell me, no, don't switch to that provider. No, don't get that service because they did this. You know, if the people or the businesses responsible were smart, they would have picked up on it and said, hey, Chris, we see you're interested in our product. Why don't you go ahead and drop me an email, let me know if you have any questions. Wow, holy cow. The business wants my business. That's amazing. Who wouldn't want that kind of engagement with the products and services that you're already getting? You know, nobody wants to call a company because they want to talk to a robot today, unless, of course, it's a robot company. They want to talk to a human being. They want to connect with someone real. And social media is a suite of tools and services that make it easier for businesses to connect with their community or their clients. And if the community or clients aren't there, there's a bigger problem than if they're saying things that are negative about you and or your product or service. You know, the Yelp thing is an example. So many managers will bury their heads in the sand, ignoring really, I would say, legitimate problems that are not just coming, you know, individually. I mean, usually, you know, sometimes there's a random person who was obviously just off his or her rocker when they posted a review. But you look at the trends, like, okay, generally speaking, this seems to be okay. These seem to be very well thought out reviews, good or bad. But when someone who's responsible doesn't pay attention to what's being shared, and it's something that's potentially detrimental to the brand, that says a lot to me. That says, oh, they're not paying attention to what someone happens to be saying about them. Whether their whole business is offline or online, the internet is not going away. Social media is as much as a fad as communicating.
Hey, Chris, it's interesting that you brought that up because there's a certain cable company, I'm not going to say the name, that has a dedicated division to watching social media for negative commentary, and that division specifically is purposed for communicating with the individuals who are posting those comments, and they direct message them and try to resolve the issues. They're starting to get it, but they're using the social media as like a goalie or defense for anything being negatively said about the company. And
it's okay to say the company name. You're talking
Time
about
Warner.
something. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. So they follow the lead of Frank Eliason from Comcast, who's no longer with Comcast but Citi.
Yeah, I was just going to say, are you talking about Comcast? But you
That's what I thought.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Comcast. Yeah.
But Comcast, it wasn't Comcast who got it. That's I think the bigger part of the story. Comcast didn't get it. Frank Eliason got it. An individual at the company got it, and from there inspired other. Oh, well, it's working for Comcast. Oh, we better do the same thing.
Yeah.
What is this Twitter thing? I thought it was a fad. Is this like MySpace? Do I need animated GIFs and things? What is this, Google Plus? Yeah, it's at least they're using it, and at least they're going to where their community is, going to where their customers are. And the traditional service model is bring them into your system, which can be controlled, certainly, to a certain degree, but pull them in and give them a good experience there. They're going to ask for those things on Twitter, potentially, or even Facebook, although Facebook's a bit more difficult to track. It's a completely different type of tool. Facebook is very difficult to use as someone who has a brand or isn't trying to engage their supporters, if only because brand engagement, despite the numbers, is very, very, very low. IRC, so Tech Guru, I'm seeing in the chat here, Tech Guru is asking, is it a good idea to start a computer repair? I want to make it cheaper to do repairs. Well, be careful, dude. Cheap isn't always good. Now, cheap may give you a leg up on the competition in terms of being cheap, but if you happen to get overbooked and all your time is spent on fixing people's computers and you can't even afford to pay your bills, cheap wasn't the right way to go. Playing with pricing is very tricky, especially if there are people in your area who could potentially do the job better, who have more people to address those problems, or who are doing something very similar. Doing computer repair, a really good business, is probably going to work best if you're very hyper-local and you build up customers based on referrals and trust. Instead of sending them to, or instead of having other people send them to bigger stores, you'd want to network with other small business owners who would be complementary to the services you would provide to get those new customers, whether that's a local ISP, whether that's some other type of group that may have problems that crop up. They could use you as a personalized referral. It's not a bad idea to start up a computer repair business, but just make sure you know what you're getting into. There are a lot of people who are doing it, and it doesn't mean that you couldn't. You could certainly do it better than some other people might, but you have to define exactly how much your time is worth, and if that value comes out higher than what you are charging customers, you're going to go out of business real soon. Even if people could afford you at a cheaper rate, your time would be full, and then people would be upset and they'd go to your competition, which could provide better service. You're better off providing a higher quality level of service that people are going to talk about than always worrying about the cheaper rates, or providing incentives that say the first time I fix your computer, it's this price. The second time, it's this price. The third time, it's lower than the second price because you are a regular customer at that point, and I want to make sure you're taken care of. Or if you give a direct referral to another customer, I'll take X% off your next payment. So you parlay those relationships into more relationships. That's the value of doing things like in social networking, whether it's LinkedIn, Google+, YouTube to a certain degree, Twitter, or really anything else. Do we have any other questions, by the way, on the topic of social media and small businesses?
Chris, I think there's some in the chat on the Google Plus page.
Okay. Oh, I'm not seeing it, so I can't. Who is it? Who's asking the question?
Checking.
Who's asking the question? What are you talking about? Well, we're talking about small business and social media. They may have just tuned in, though. They just tuned in. They don't realize that you're all nomies. You can join the conversation, not just this one, but the other ones that we do, and have access to a lot of intelligence at nomies.com. My annual rate is $97. See, most consultants would be like $97 an hour. I'm $97 a year. Now, you want to talk about cheap? Well, okay, affordable. I'm not going to say I'm cheap.
Yeah, don't say you're cheap.
I'm affordable. for advice.
Affordable. That's the better word. There you go.
Yeah, and, and Lynette Young is posting here. She's another small business person. God, Twitter is not a marketing plan. For the record, it's a tactic, not a strategy. My head hurts now. Exactly, Lynette. She says when she polls her clients, she finds they generally fit in with the American average of 35 hours a week of television. Give up the boob tube. Use the time for your business, plain as that. Exactly. You know how much I watched? I finally sat down. My parents were here for a few weeks and didn't really spend a lot of time with them. But last night I watched TV, I think, for the first time in weeks because I'm working. If you're not working on your business somehow, like, you can't expect that other people are going to work it for you. If you are the business owner, no one is going to work as hard as you. They may work very, very hard. I mean, and you certainly should recognize that. But at the end of the day, you are responsible for that business's success or failure. And, looking at every possible angle and educating yourself, I say take as much time as you possibly need. I learned something, I would say, every single day that I've done business since 1996. I've learned something new. One thing I've learned. One thing. And that's a lot of learning. It doesn't just begin and end with starting the business. You've got to massage it. You've got to foster it. You've got to grow it. And that growth may flatline for a while. It may be steady. It may be in a holding pattern. And that's when you really have to think hard, buckle down and think hard about what it's going to take to get, really over that hump. If you even want to get over that hump. Some people are fine. Like, you know what? I'm paying the bills. I'm happy. I can do what I want. To me, and some have asked, well, Chris, what are your goals in using social media and in your business? And I guess part of it is knowing that I've got a good business model that people want, sharing information for free. Sometimes we have the Know Me subscription, so some information is not free. Of course, this information is free, so I'd like to believe that the information that we share is valuable enough for some small business owners to go, I'd really like to know more about how to be able to do this stuff specifically for my business. And so in talking in generalities, which we might do, it's just scraping the surface. The real question is, how do you apply this stuff specifically to your business model? And it's never cookie cutter. It's never. What works for me ain't going to work for everybody who's watching this video. It just won't. It just won't happen. I would be
totally
sure.
agree. Totally agree.
But so many people want to take shortcuts with business, and those businesses tend not to survive. You can't take shortcuts. You can't. You can't afford it. There are plenty of people who would want your whatever you got. Your position.
So no cookie cutter? No cookie cutter?
No cookie cutter. None. None. There's no one-size-fits-all does not play well in the realm of business because people couldn't do what I do because I'm lucky. My business model is predicated on me being me. Now, there's only one me. That's my value add. Or having 15 years of experience in doing business online. There are other people who have done that too, but not a lot. There haven't been a few of those. So I'm lucky to be in that minority and be able to apply these practices to my own business model, or to be able to look at another business model and say, this is really not interesting. It's sad to say a lot of business models aren't, but the real question is, are their goals and objectives lining up with their strategies? And more often than not, they don't. This is one of the reasons why I get excited when I look at someone's website and do a review. I'll point out things and tell them, like, wait, you're selling products on your website, but you're running ads on the website that have nothing to do with your products. Why? Don't move this, do this here, put this here, put this here. And based on the feedback, we have a magician who's a part of the Know Me's community who took that feedback during that broadcast and within an hour had redone the flow of his website. It was easy to do with the templates that he had set up, apparently, but it was a completely different website. And that website, when I looked at it, showed me that he was trying to sell a product. And my hope is that he'll be able to convert a lot more people who visit his website to see one product or another, better than he could before. So just getting a website there, getting a Twitter account, getting something out there is just 1%, dude. That's just scraping the surface. It's not the strategy at all.
But isn't the goal of social media as a whole to get engaged with your customer base as well as build up your following and connections to expand your reach? For example, like I use an example of the people who buy these Twitter followers to try and reach new people. I just don't understand the concept at all, because you're not connected to anybody other than the fact that you have a number attached to your Twitter, and that is just ridiculous to me.
You know, thank you so much for bringing that up, because numbers are irrelevant. Go back to high school math. Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize it was words of wisdom, but think back to your grade school math, and I could barely remember it. I'm horrible at numbers. But I remember the teacher always getting mad at saying, label your numbers. Label them. That's important. I'm like, why do I need to label my numbers? Having 1,000 followers on Twitter could very well be more valuable than having 10,000 followers on Twitter, if those 1,000 followers are very engaged versus the 10,000 followers which are loosely engaged or barely even understand why they followed you in the first place. Numbers mean nothing. The only numbers that should count are the numbers of people who understand your brand, who are engaged with you, and who want your product or service. Anyone else? That's all they are. They're a number. I don't care if you come to me and say, I've got 1 million followers. Bravo. That's great. What are you doing with them? Are they doing anything with you? You find your 1,000 true fans. You know, this is, you know, should be a huge drive for anybody who's doing business anywhere. Your 1,000 true fans will keep you in business forever. Through a down economy, through an up economy, well, I guess through an up economy it'd be a little easier to manage getting business to survive. The number itself means nothing. It's not about getting the number of followers up. It's getting the number of people who engage you up. When I meet people sometimes in real life, and yes, I do get out of the house every so often, sometimes it's a little humorous. They'll say, Chris, I haven't watched all your videos, I'm sorry. But I always tell them, well, thank God, because, geez, you wouldn't have much of a life if you watched all my videos. Not that I'm saying that if you watch all my videos, you don't have a life. I'm just I'm very prolific with content. I do a lot, you know, and there's a lot of content to watch out there. So it doesn't surprise me at all. I don't feel disheartened. My ego is not that fragile. But what I take away from that is they tell me that they know I do videos, and they know what type of videos I might do. That speaks more to my brand and influence than knowing that they watch every single one of my videos. Even if they tell me they watch all my videos, I know they don't. I mean, even I don't watch. My parents don't even watch all my videos, and they're in some of them. So it's being able to get recognition in your arena of expertise or your marketplace that ultimately is the number you want to chase and grow. Buying followers is worthless. No, I can't say it's not worthless. It's worth money to the people who are selling those followers. But those followers they're cruft. They're worthless. They're nothing. It's nothing. Get that engagement up. Legitimately respond. Interact. This is one of the reasons why I'm really heavy into Google+. No one's on Google+. Really? Really? I'm hanging out with nobody right now. I'm connecting with nobody right now.
Who are we?
I don't know. And all the people who are commenting, and all the people who are +1ing, and all the people who are on the stream, maybe we're zeros or something.
Yeah, really. Makes me wonder.
And I know that it was funny. Pedro Ubila said, "Does Chris let other people talk?" When I did this last week, I would always pause for questions, and no one would speak up. So I planned, okay, I'm gonna go on for an hour and hopefully, you know, intersperse. Now PJ Hannah's asking how much tweeting and Facebook posting is acceptable to give your clients or followers. To me, it's what your followers can bear. And you guys may have other. I'll sit back if you guys have other suggestions in terms of what PJ, a fellow know me, is asking.
Well, I'd say for me, it's just you put your content out there with what you feel comfortable with at first. I've seen a lot of people who, you know it's not them doing the posting because it's too regimented. It's every 15 minutes. It's a quote. It's something that's not necessarily relevant to their brand. And it's not engaging because it's just a flood of the same thing hour after hour. Then you have the other people who almost every single one of their posts is a reply to a question, is a reply to a statement, is a retweet of something relevant to their business. That's the role model that I think I'd want to follow.
I think, Chris, I think it comes down to what you said about spam a while ago. You said people were saying that you were spamming their feed, yet they subscribe to it. If they've subscribed to it, they want it, they should have it.
You know, Twitter is probably the most sensitive area to get information out there, whether you're replying to people, which is easier to track, especially if you're being replied to, or sharing information. You know, I'll admit it, I follow 1,000 people on Twitter, and I miss 95% of what they say. I'm always shocked because when I put something out there, something that we've created, content that either they've asked about or we thought was relevant or interesting, knowledge building, you know, something that's certainly core to our values with my particular sets of businesses, you know, sometimes we do post it more than once. And the reason why is because, you know, the chances of you getting a tweet in front of your followers every time you tweet is very, very rare. It's not a very high chance that they're going to see everything that you share on Twitter. It's different with Facebook, with the timeline, being able to scroll down and see things. It's different on Google+. It's certainly different on YouTube. Twitter is probably the place that you have the most amount of freedoms with getting a lot of information out there. Again, so long as it's relevant, so long as it's interesting, so long as it's useful. And generally speaking, you know, what we've learned in our own practice is, you know, mix it up, yes, but also understand that not everybody is going to see every single thing that we have to share every single time. There are people who do, and I'm very grateful for having those people in our community. But it's like the people who say that I say too much or I write too much on Google+. I tell them, well, you need to circle more people, because I'm not the only one sharing things. Circle our nomies. I guess I shared the nomie circle earlier. Did your notifications explode, nomies? When you got
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Push me over my next goal. Push me over my next goal. No, just kidding.
If you want more, to go back to the organic followers, if you want more organic followers, when you subscribe to nomies, you get added to the nomies circle and you get followed on Twitter and so on and so forth. Then when I share that circle publicly, people add, whether they're fellow nomies or anybody else, so you get more organically grown audience or potential people that can convert into friends. You know, recognize that you may have colleagues where you didn't realize you had before, customers, clients, mentors. You know, it's a big world. There are a lot of people out there, and if you see too much of one person, you know, as much as this pains me as a content producer, sometimes you gotta look beyond that one or two people. Any other questions from the group? I want to start winding it down now, about an hour into it, and I don't know if we have any other questions from the actual chat stream, either behind me or from Google.
There was a question, Chris.
Mid-computer guy had a good question.
Yeah, I posted in the regular Google Plus Hangout chat.
Which question?
Mid-computer guy.
Mid-computer guy. He's a fellow nomie. He says, should I go through and delete people with whom I am not actively involved? You know, unless they're getting in your way, I wouldn't necessarily do that. I cull through my LinkedIn and Facebook, not so much Twitter, unless they're like posting stuff. I'm like, why did I follow this person? I don't care really about photos of cats all the time. A little every once in a while, but you know, not every tweet. I think it's important to cull through to recognize which relationships are more valuable than others. But going through and deleting people with whom you're not actively involved, you know, it just depends. If they're annoying you, yeah. If they're not providing value to you, I think yes, certainly you could cull through. LinkedIn, I would probably be the most. Can you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Rain beating up against. This is Seattle. I got rain beating up against my window right now.
That's rain?
That's what that is?
Oh, dude, I didn't think that was right. I thought that was someone typing.
No.
Or someone drinking.
That's That is definitely rain pounding against the window there. I watch LinkedIn. If someone adds me on LinkedIn, even if I just met them, even if they seem like a nice person, very rarely do I add them as a connection, unless I believe, hey, they work somewhere. They obviously are reaching out to me for one reason or another. I reply to them and say, hey, have we met? What are you looking for? And sometimes that gets parlayed into a business connection. But if it's not Facebook, so I'm not going to add, I'm not going to endorse if I've never done business with them and I can't really qualify them as a business contact. And then very rarely on LinkedIn will I even provide an introduction through LinkedIn. If someone comes to me and says, hey, could I get an introduction to this so-and-so, I am more likely to provide that on an interpersonal level outside of LinkedIn than I am through LinkedIn altogether. But those business connections are very visible. So I don't know if you guys want to add to that, or we can start up for this week, since we do this every week. Not just social media talk, it's just the Google Plus Hangout with Nomies.
I think something not said earlier about how businesses can interact with customers, or at least find the time to do that. I think it's so important for small business owners to own some sort of smartphone, to be connected all of the time, because they could be 2 minutes queuing up for a coffee. They can reply to 5 tweets in that time.
Thank you. Thank you. Even if it's not, I don't care if it's an Android, an iPhone, a Windows Phone 7, a smartphone, small business owners need to understand, and I've been banging this drum for years, this is a computer, okay? It's not a laptop computer, it's a pocket computer, but they call it a smartphone. And if you're not using a smartphone, you're running a dumb business, because you need to be connected. And if that smartphone isn't really supporting where your community is, say it's on a dinosaur platform that hasn't evolved with the times, then you need to upgrade.
Nice.
What was that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Couldn't understand you, Chris.
I had something in my. I was eating some fruits earlier, blackberries. I had something in my throat. I think seed of some kind. Really, that was what it was. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining me. We try to keep these Google Plus Hangout broadcasts focused on one particular topic of discussion. Yes, I can be quite vocal, but that's kind of what I do.
That's why we joined you, Chris.
And hopefully you guys got something from it. And if not, I'll do better next time. This is something that we do regularly for the Nomies subscribers. You can join us at nomies.com. It is very reasonable for small business owners, and I can tell you, as can the people who join me here, that it should have already proven valuable when they join. You only get out of something what you put into it, and so hopefully, if you have a business model that you hope to evolve, to be able to become your own boss one day, it's absolutely possible. I would say today, not just with today's economy, but certainly with today's array of tools, it is easier to drive your own life rather than relying on somebody else's. If that's what you want. If it's not what you want, cool. You're cool doing what you want to do. But a lot of people out there want to decide their own destiny, on their own, and don't necessarily have every bit of knowledge that they might need. It takes both types to support a business. There's no one right way to be. But certainly for Nomies, it's being able to share that intelligence that I've used to build success for myself, and success that has a track record, as does for everybody else who might be a part of this small but growing group. I think about a month into it, and we're on our way to 500 members. So that makes me happy. I would say that was a success.
What are you going to do when we hit 500?
There needs to be a celebration.
Party.
Yeah, I think I said I would paint my fingernails, because apparently this is what celebrities do. They're like, all these famous guys are painting their fingernails.
Don't do it.
Whatever floats your boat, I guess,
There's no pain in that. Like you played Minecraft when you hit 250.
But you don't think this was painful enough? This was painful. Just in a different way, mentally drained. I got brains oozing out of my ears here. Anyway, so everybody, the conversation, of course, does continue. Either in your own communities or within the Nomies community. We've got the Facebook group, the LinkedIn group. We've got a private email discussion list for business. plenty of tips and tricks. We've got some webinars we've already uploaded to our Nomi's site, including the webinar on YouTube success, and as well as the webinar we did this week on analyzing people's websites to make them optimal for their goals and objectives. And we're doing this constantly. This is a really less of a mastermind group, more of a mastermind community with a community involvement and feel, and we'd certainly be better off with more small business owners joining us rather than sitting on the sidelines wondering what they need to do next with their small business. You can ask us, and we may be able to help get you over that hump. Not just me, but the people who weren't able to talk or get a word in edgewise with me sitting in front of the camera. And so thank you, everybody, for supporting what we're doing with Nomi's and beyond. So everyone, have a good weekend, and I guess if you guys want to do it with me, we'll eat it later.
Good
talk. Good talk.
Awesome.